walk away when you hear me say, please. Oh, baby, don't go. Your boy's running 2 weeks behind. I missed the last 3 uploads. What could I say? Excuses. Sick. Back gave out. But in all honesty, your boy was playing Kingdom Hearts. It's my favorite game of all time.
Kyrie's inside me?
I didn't realize they had it on Steam. They had the first 5 games. I copped that quick. Actually, hold on. In case you thought I was playing. In case you thought I was playing with y'all.
I shuffle them up like TOK. I couple of bucks, my screen okay. He vamp. Don't see no rays. They bring in the spike like CDH.
You didn't think the boy had a keyblade, did you? With the chain. Yeah. I like the game, dude. But hey, we can sit around thinking of the negatives all day, or we can start getting into the next episode of the Lotus Precon series, the series where I brew up a precon style deck for around $45, $50 that you, a Magic player, could pick up instead of one of the run-of-the-mill copy-paste precons Wizards keeps putting out there. Sound good? Good. Today's precon is an Orzhov lifegain list that comes in for $49.20, built around Sorin of House Markov. And if that sounds interesting, make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get into it. Sorin of House Markov is 1 and a black for a 1/4 lifelink with extort. Whenever you cast a spell, you may pay 1 hybrid Orzhov. If you do, each opponent loses 1, and you gain that much life. At the beginning of your post-combat main phase, if you gained 3 or more life this turn, exile Sorin of House Markov, then return it to the battlefield transformed under your control into Sorin Ravenous Neonate, a planeswalker with 3 loyalty, who has the passive ability of having extort, whose +1 creates a treasure token, whose -1 deals damage equal to the amount of life you gained this turn to any target, and whose -6 gains control of anything and turns it into a vampire, throws a lifelink counter on it if you control a white permanent. I don't know. Now, seeing that this deck is not only a lifelink deck, but a lifelink deck whose commander is a planeswalker, but we need to get the creature that is our commander to flip into that planeswalker, and the thing that makes it flip is gaining 3 life. The planeswalker side of this, the Sorin Ravenous Neonate, that's pretty much going to be our commander. The front side of this is not going to be in play very often at all because gaining 3 life, hey, who would have guessed it? Super easy. So keep that in mind. The first thing I want to talk about in this deck, obviously, is the ways that we have to gain life, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to flip Sorin. We're +1 in Sorin to make a ton of foods, and then we're minusing Sorin each turn to just shoot each opponent for tons of damage equal to the life we gained that turn. So gaining life, that's going to be good. The first way I want to talk about gaining life in this deck is extort, because our commander has extort built into it, so having some other cards that have extort into play makes it so you can double, triple, quadruple extort for each spell you cast, because yes, it stacks. So if you have 3 things with extort, you play 1 spell, pay 3 Orzhov, each opponent loses 3, you gain 9. That's as you're gonna see later, busted. So stuff like Basilica Screecher being a 1 and a black 1/2 flying extort is perfect for this. Syndic of Tithes being a 1 and a white 2/2 with extort. Tithe Drinker being a white and a black 2/1 with lifelink extort not only gains us life from the extort but also from the lifelink. This is doing some double duty there. Pontiff of Blight is incredible, being 4 and 2 black for a 2/7 with extort that gives all of our other creatures extort. And Syndicate Heavy being 2 and 2 hybrid Orzhov for a 4/4 extort. At the beginning of each end step, if you gained 4 or more life this turn, investigate. So outside of just extorting, we're gonna have some pretty good life gain, obviously, in the deck. And who would have guessed it on a budget, being one of the least popular strategies in the entire history of the game. Incredibly easy to make a very powerful lifelink deck for like no money. So as you're gonna see, yeah, life gain is pretty potent on a penny. Congregate is 3 and a white for an instant. Target player gains 2 life for each creature on the battlefield. Yeah, if there's one token deck at the table, and not even a token deck, like there's gonna be at least 6, 7 creatures on the battlefield in any given game. That's like 14 life. But if there's a token deck or like a Krenko deck or a Go Wide deck, you're gaining a ton. You look good. Daxus, Blessed by the Sun, is 2 white for a 2-star, whose toughness is equal to the devotion of white, and whenever another creature you control enters the battlefield, gain a life. Midnight Snack is 2 and a black for an enchantment that creates a food token at the beginning of your end step if you attacked this turn, and you can pay 2 and a black to sack it and have target opponent lose X life, where X is the amount of life you gained this turn. So in this deck, we get to do a double Sorin -1 essentially with this. That's going to be great. Plus, like the food interaction with Sorin's +1 as well. We also have some stuff in here that interacts with food tokens. That's going to be good. War Report is 3 and a white for an instant. You gain life equal to the number of creatures on the battlefield plus the number of artifacts on the battlefield, and with the food interaction in the deck, this is great. Oath of Kaya is 1 a black and a white for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, deal 3 damage to any target and you gain 3. Whenever an opponent attacks you or a planeswalker you control, Oath of Kaya deals 2 damage to that player and you gain 2 life. This is really good because gain 2, lose 2, that's a 4 life difference between you and that player now. This is a really good attack deterrent, especially in a life gain deck where we have tons of life gain synergy. I think it's great, actually. I think it might have been lost on me because I assumed it was a planeswalker tribal card. It's pretty good in life gain. Crypt Incursion is 2 and a black for an instant. Exile all creature cards from target player's graveyard. You gain 3 life for each card exiled this way. Not only good if you're against a graveyard deck at the table, but most of the time, again, there's going to be a pretty decent amount of creatures in someone's graveyard at the table, and this could gain you an insane amount of life. Crypt Incursion plus Sorin -1. Think any of these life gain cards plus Sorin -1. And that's what we're going for. Riot Control is another great option to stop creature decks while also being good life gain. For 2 and a white at instant speed, you gain 1 life for each creature your opponents control and prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to you this turn. Now, this does not say gain life for each creature attacking you, and it also doesn't say for each creature target opponent controls. It's all the creatures all of your opponents control. So again, if there's a huge battlefield on someone's battlefield and you're getting swung at by let's say you're getting swung at by the Voltron deck for 30, you could still prevent that damage and gain a ton of life from the token deck that's over there. So this is awesome. Tainted Sigil is another fantastic source of life gain because it interacts really neat with Sorin, being 1 a black and a white for an artifact that you can tap and sacrifice to gain life equal to the amount of life players lost this turn. So in this deck, for example, let's say you have something like Midnight Snack out, okay? So you play Midnight Snack, you extort with your Sorin, everyone loses 1, you gain 3, you crack your food with Midnight Snack to gain another 3, so you're at 6 life gain. You sacrifice your Midnight Snack to make target opponent lose 6 equal to the life you gained this turn. You sack your Tainted Sigil to gain life equal to the total life that all players lost this turn, being 6, so now you gained 12, and then you -1 your Sorin to shoot somebody for 12. And we haven't even plugged in any of the gain additional life cards or any of the other cards that cause life loss when we gain life. It's pretty good to just get these chains going off where you're dealing real big blows to people, and who knows when it's gonna go next. We've also got Case of the Uneaten Feast, which is 1 white for an enchantment case. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, gain 1. It is solved when you gain 5 or more life. And sacrifice this case. Creature cards in your graveyard gain. You may cast this card from your graveyard until end of turn. Yeah, just a Soul Sister with a stapled end game effect, where it's just, hey, I'm gonna rush my whole graveyard back into play. Sorry about you. And to finish off the life gain package of the deck of course runs life linkers. So we've got stuff like Markov Purifier, who is 1 a white and a black for a 2/3 life link. At the beginning of your end step, if you gained life this turn, you may pay 2. If you do, draw a card. Gaining life and drawing cards on the same card, yeah, it's gonna be good. We've already talked about Tithe Drinker having life link. Elenda Saint of Dusk is insane, being a 2 a white and a black 4/4 life link, hexproof from instance. If your health is greater than your starting health, she gets 1/1 and has menace. And if it's 10 greater, she gets an additional +5/+5. So if your life is 10 greater, she gets +6/+6 and menace as a life linker. But that's probably going to be pretty good. And then finally, Indulging Patrician is 1 a white and a black for a 1/4 flying life link. At the beginning of your end step, if you gained 3 or more life this turn, each opponent loses 3. So, yeah, actually a pretty sizable gain at the end of each of your turns if you gained life. Plus, it has lifelink. You're going to see in a second we have ways to buff creatures in this deck. So, all these lifelink creatures, in addition to all the food tokens, in addition to the extort, in addition to the straight-up lifelink cards, in addition to the straight-up life gain cards, tons of ways to gain life in this deck. And while we're on the subject of lifelink creatures, we might as well talk about the 4-card kit that we run to buff up some of our lifelink creatures. We've got East Farthing Farmer, who is 2 and a white for a 2/3. When it enters the battlefield, create a food token, and when you do, target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each food you control. So with the small food sub-themes and the fact that our commander can just +2 to create a food, this can drop to give one of our lifelink creatures a huge buff, bash with that lifelink creature, gain a ton of health, and then -1 our Sorin to shoot somebody for a ton of damage. this can work really, really well in here. As well as Rosy Cotton of South Lane working incredible in this deck, being 2 and a white for a 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, create a food token, and whenever you create a token, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control other than Rosy. You're telling me that our life gain turns into 1/1 counters? Yeah, I think that's probably gonna be fine. That's probably gonna be fine with us, I think. Final Fantasy's new Excalibur 2 is insane in this deck, being 1 for an equipment that equips for 3. Whenever you gain life, put a charge counter on Excalibur 2, and equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each counter on Excalibur 2. Oh, yeah, our commander has extort, so this is nuts. You play a spell, you pay 1, everyone loses 1, you gain 3, Excalibur gets a counter. Drop another spell, everyone loses 1, you gain 3, Excalibur, another counter. Swing with the Lifelinker. Excalibur, 1/1 counter. Crack a food, Excalibur, 1/1 counter. Oh, is that Excalibur attached to a Lifelinker? Oh, sorry. It's too good. It's scary good. I'm sorry. And then finally, Insatiable Frugivore. We've talked about this one on the channel before. Is incredible in here, being 3 and a black for a 2/4. When it enters the battlefield, create a food token. Then you may exile 3 cards from your graveyard. If you do, repeat this process. So if you got a big graveyard, you can make some food tokens. We like that. The part I really like here is pay 3 and a black, sacrifice X foods. Creatures you control get +X/+O and gain menace until end of turn. So giving us a board-wide huge buff for our food tokens that we're willing to sack, and evasion. Moving on from that, we'll talk about the small 6-card food interaction package we have in the deck, starting with Cat Collector being 2 and a white for a 3/2. When it enters, create a food token. Whenever you gain life for the first time during each of your turns, create a 1/1 cat. I love token engines in almost all my decks. This is a good one for a life gain deck. Also, cats, and I dance, and I dance, dude. We've already talked about East Farthing Farmer, Rosy Cotton, and Insatiable Frugivore. The deck runs Of Herbs and Stewed Rabbit, which is a 2 and a white saga. Chapter 1 puts a 1/1 counter on target creature and makes a food. Chapter 2 draws you a card and creates a food. And Chapter 3 creates a 1/1 white halfling for each food we control. I think this is pretty good, actually. You get an insane amount of tokens into play. You get like a ton of halflings off this. Plus, it makes you 2 foods, you're drawing a card, you're getting one of your lifelinks bigger with a 1/1 counter. I think this is doing all the stuff the deck wants to be doing. And then finally, Rapacious Guest is 2 and a black for a 2/2 menace. Whenever one or more creatures you control deals combat damage to a player, create a food token. Whenever you sacrifice a food, put a 1/1 counter on Rapacious Guest. And when Rapacious Guest leaves the battlefield, target opponent loses life equal to its power. So this is just something you can just passively build up over the course of the game with like sacking food tokens. And people will probably be like, oh, that thing's sitting at 13. Can't really get rid of it or I'm gonna lose 13. So, but it's also a 13/13 menace. Oh, my bad. I just realized where I was supposed to go to get to the ball. I'll do it later. Now we can move on to the deck's win cons. We already talked about Midnight Snack. This will be a great way to win games. Having an opponent lose life equal to the life we gained. That's like this deck's bread and butter. The deck also runs Golem Obsessed Stalker, which is 1 and a black for a 1/1 Skulk. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent dealt damage this game by a creature named Golem Obsessive Stalker loses life equal to the amount of life you gained this turn. So once you've connected with all 3 players with Golem, all your life gain just becomes Sanguine Bonds for the opponents. This is an incredible win con, especially if you're on a budget and you're not willing to throw down the money for the Sanguine Bonds and the Exquisite Bloods. I don't own either one of those cards, so I totally get that. This is a great alternative. Liliana's Talent is incredible, seeing that our commander, most of the time, is a Planeswalker, being 2 and a black for an enchantment aura that enchants a Planeswalker, giving that Planeswalker -8. Put all creature cards from all graveyards into play under your control, and whenever a creature deals damage to an enchanted planeswalker, destroy that creature. So, protection from our commander being swung at, plus a built-in Rise of the Dark Realms on our commander. Yeah. I think I will. I think I might. Oh my gosh. The deck also runs Debt to the Debtless and Exsanguinate. Both very similar. You dump a ton of mana into it, causing each opponent to lose X life, and you gain life equal to the life lost this way. If the game's going long enough, this could easily bring home a game. Not to mention, if you're looking to upgrade this deck, it is a black-white deck. You can probably run Urborg and Yawgmoth and stuff like that in your land base to produce tons of mana to dump into these cards if you're looking to upgrade that way. And then finally, Vizkopa Guildmage. Being a black and a white for a 2/2. Pay 1 a black and a white, target creature gains lifelink, or pay 1 a black and a white. Whenever you gain life this turn, each opponent loses that much life. Again, Sanguine Bond looking for much cheaper than a Sanguine Bond. We're going to take a quick look at the mana ramp, card draw, removal, mana base, board wipes, stuff like that. And then after that, we're going to talk about the under $50 upgrade kit you could buy for this deck that I would recommend getting if you want to, you know, up the power level a little bit of it. And then after that, we will look at some test hands, run a couple test games to see what the deck looks like, and then we will end the video there. So let's get into it. So here's a look at the deck's mana ramp, the deck's card draw, the deck's removal, the deck's board interaction, along with the deck's mana base. Up first on our upgrade kit is Exemplar of Light, coming in at $5.49. Exemplar of Light is 2/2 white for a 3/3 flying. Whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on this creature, and whenever you put one or more 1/1 counters on this creature, draw a card. It only triggers once a turn. We get a giant flying beater that gets bigger and bigger for the more life we gain that draws us cards. This seems like a no-brainer to me. This is incredible. Take out one of your card draw pieces for this if you want to give this a little upgrade. Up next, we got Academy Manufacturer, coming in at $6, being 3 for a 1/3. If you would create a food, a clue, or a treasure, you instead create all 3. So every time we +1 Sorin, we're getting all 3 of those. This is incredible. No real need for explanation here. Pick this one up. It will buff up your deck. Enduring Tenacity is another great upgrade, coming in at $7, being 2/2 black for a 4/3. That is just a Sanguine Bond. It causes an opponent to lose life whenever you gain life, and guess what? If someone removes this, it comes back as an enchantment. So best of both worlds. You get a body, and then it just comes back as a literal Sanguine Bond. So there you go. The Gaffer is another great card draw engine for this deck, coming in at $12, being 2 and a white for a 2/3. At the beginning of each end step, if you gained 3 or more life this turn, draw a card, and wouldn't you know it, cracking a food token gains you 3 life. So if you have 3 food tokens and you can crack one at each opponent's turn, you're going to be drawing 4 cards on a rotation because we're definitely going to be gaining life during our turn. This card's incredible. Again, swap out a card draw piece for this. So good. No real need to explain. This is an insane card draw engine. And then finally, the best upgrade I could recommend for this deck is Black Market Connections, being a $16 enchantment that comes out for 2 and a black. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, choose 1 or more, create a treasure, lose 1 life, draw a card, lose 2 life, create a 3/2 colorless shape-shifting token with Changeling, you lose 3 life. So you could do all 3 of these and lose 6 life, and wouldn't you know it, cracking 2 food tokens would just recoup the loss of the 6 life right there. So this is incredible. You will be outvaluing every single opponent just for the game existing and just happening, and since we're life gain, we will see no loss from it at all. So we like that a lot. If you want to pick up this whole upgrade kit, it comes in at $46.50. And with that, we're going to hop on Moxfield's playtester and we're going to run a couple test games, see what you guys think of the deck. And with that, we're going to bring this video home. So I'll see you guys on there. So we're over on Moxfield now. You might notice we look a little different. That's because this is Future Nick. 4 new episodes of Pokemon Concierge came out that I didn't know about. And you better believe I watched that before recording. Oh, yes, I did. Look at him. Look at him. He's too cute. Look at my son. Pride is not the word I'm looking for. So over on Moxfield, we're going to go ahead and deal a couple of test hands, play a few turns to show you the basic rundown on how the deck is going to play. And after that, we're going to wrap this up for you. So we're going to go ahead and click this 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I probably would keep this, so I'm going to play test it. So on our turn, we're going to draw a card. We're going to go ahead and play an Evolving Wilds and grab a Plains with it. When it comes back around to us, we're going to untap. We will drop an Isolated Chapel, and we will follow that up with a... I should probably play our commander at this point, so we'll drop a Sorin of House Markov. Comes back around to us, we will go ahead and draw. We will play a Swamp. We'll follow that up with our Daxus, Blessed by the Sun, who is a 2/2. Whenever another creature we control enters, we gain 1 life. And we will extort the Daxus, so we gain 3, each opponent loses 1, and that will be enough to trigger our Sorin to flip. So on our post-combat main, we're going to go ahead and turn Sorin over, and we will +2 him to create a food token. When it comes back around to us, we will draw. I don't know why pass in here. Don't run Path of Ancestry. I think I put in my default land base, but we'll pretend it's a command tower for the sake of this. Go ahead and pay 3 for Cat Collector. When it enters, it will trigger Daxus to gain us a life, and when we gain a life, it'll trigger Cat Collector to create us a 1/1 cat. When we play Cat Collector, we will also extort for 1 black with our Sorin Ravenous Neonate, which will cause us to gain another 3. So at this point, we could minus one our Sorin, shoot a creature in play that has 3 or less toughness to get it out of the way. We could do direct damage to an opponent, or we could just +1 to get another food token. But for the sake of playtesting, we'll just make another food token and pass back around. And that's a pretty general gameplay loop. You're going to be either +1ing Sorin to make food, or -1ing Sorin to shoot opponents or any problem pretty much that's in play. Come to think of it, you could even run battles in here. I'm pretty sure you could shoot battles with Sorin's -1. That could be interesting. All the while, netting 1/1 cats, gaining life for creatures coming into play, being able to extort anything you play. We have 2 pieces of removal in hand, plus a consuming corruption, plus card draw in the form of Syndicate Heavy or Night's Whisper. There's plenty of routes here. You're just gaining life, shooting people with Sorin's -1. If people deal with it, look at that. When it goes to command zone, it's a 2-drop. So playing it for 4, not unrealistic. Okay, so this is a hand I would keep. We'd go ahead and draw. I would play a Swamp, pass back around, play a Plains. We'll do the, actually, we're going to drop Excalibur too, first turn. I didn't realize it was a 1-drop, so there we go. And then turn 2, we're dropping Sorin. And then we will pass back around to us. We'll play our 3rd land. At this point, I'm going to pay 3 to attach Actually, I'm not going to attach Excalibur because Sorin's probably going to flip very quickly. So let's get a Cat Collector out here. Whenever we gain life, get a 1/1, and we'll pass back around. We will play a Swamp. We'll pretend we have something we can sanctify, an artifact or an enchantment. We'll gain 3 life as well as extort it, so we'll gain a total of 6 life here. In 2 different instances, one from the extort, one from the sanctify. So Excalibur will have 2 counters on it, plus we will get a cat token, and that will cause Sorin to flip, and then we can +1. We've gained 6 life this turn, so we could theoretically -1 Sorin to shoot something for something or somebody for 6. Again, we'll just make a food for the sake of playtesting. Comes back around. We're going to go ahead and pay 3 for Markov Purifier. That's the pay 2 at the end of your turn if you do draw a card, if you gained life. That's going to be great on this battlefield, so we will pay 1 to extort that. We'll gain another 3, and that will put another counter on Excalibur. We're gaining life, shooting stuff for tons of damage with Sorin's -1. With this specific battlefield, next turn we're going to be paying 3 to throw Excalibur on Markov Purifier, which will make it a 5/6 because it's got 3 +1/+1 counters on it. So at this point, we can just bash someone for 5. We gain 5. We -1 Sorin, shoot somebody for 5 again. Now we can play Tainted Sigil. We can play 1 to extort. Everyone loses 3. We gain 3. That'll put another counter on Excalibur. We'll pay 2 to crack the food token and gain 3. That's 6 total life gained, and that puts another counter on Excalibur. We'll swing Markov Purifier for 7 at somebody. So that's 13 total life gained this turn. 7 to somebody with the Markov Purifier. We'll crack Tainted Sigil, and since we extorted, each player lost 1, so that's 3 life. Plus the 7 we just did with Excalibur, that's 10. So we will gain life equal to the total life lost by all players, which was 10 this turn so far. So crack Tainted Sigil to gain 10. We've already gained 13, so that's a total of 23 life we've gained this turn. You can -1 Sorin to just probably take someone out of the game, or at least threaten to. So there you go. If you enjoyed this Lotus Precon, let me know by leaving a comment, liking, and subscribing. Like I said, if you want to show additional support to the video, you can head over to Patreon or the YouTube members. Those links are both down below. Both start as low as $1. Help me out a ton. Again, if you want to pick up this deck, it's $49.50 right now. The full deck list, if you want to look at it more in depth, is down below in the description. And if you want to see the upgrades I recommended, you can go to the deck, scroll down, and click on Considering, and then the Expand tab, and it'll show you the small upgrade kit I recommended. So with that, I'm gonna get out of your guys' hair. Watch out for the next video. I'm gonna try not to start Kingdom Hearts 2 so we don't miss another 3 uploads. See ya.